Welcome to Master Your Mindset for a weight loss breakthrough. Carve out the healthy life you deserve with Adrienne Craig. Adrienne is a certified health coach here to guide women on their journeys toward a healthier life. Adrienne will lovingly hold you accountable and empower you as you create a natural and sustainable weight loss plan designed to keep you feeling good every step of the way. Nourishing food can be delicious and movement can be fun. Get ready to own your power and create lasting change in your mindset and lifestyle. Now here's your host, Adrienne.
Hello, good afternoon. Adrienne here. Welcome to Master Your Mindset for a weight loss breakthrough. Are you ready to cut through the superficial and get to the root cause of your health and weight loss challenges? Are you ready to gain confidence on your weight loss journey instead of waiting until the end? I'm here to help you carve out the healthy life you deserve. Today, we're going to talk about how nature nurtures our bodies and our souls. And I'm super happy to welcome and introduce Diane McClay, who's joining me today to talk about one of my favorite topics and one of my favorite things to do. So Diane is the founder of the Choice and Courage Company. She is a certified whole person empowerment coach. She's an author and she is a fellow podcast host with Cornelia Stephanie Media Group and Transformation Talk Radio. And I'm excited to tell you that Diane and I are going to be partnering up again this afternoon on her show at 1:30 p.m. Pacific and 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So a little bit more about Diane is a catalyst for positive change. Diane guides leaders and midlife professionals through powers of perspective and empowered choice to create clarity and personal freedom. So happy to have you here, Diane. Looking forward to hearing you share your stories with our guests today.
Thank you, Adrienne. I think it's awesome that you and I are both part of the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group. There's a lot of amazing things that are happening in that networking group, and we have a lot of great information to share with your listeners. So I'm happy to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So are you ready to just dig in? I know we're going to talk today about how we can be in nature for our health. It has so many benefits mentally for our bodies as far as weight loss and fitness, and as well as just, nurturing our souls with the beauty and magnificence that we can enjoy every day. And you're going to share your stories with us on how you've used it in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to start off with, I spent more than half of my life in the outdoor recreation world. I was a park ranger for 23 years, a park manager for 3 years after that. This was something that I wanted to do when I was a kid. My dad was a fisheries biologist, and I grew up in the Midwest, always being outside, always, catching frogs and splitting wood. And I think it's just something that's always been inherent in my personality and my nature to just want to absorb what nature has to offer. And what I learned in my journey is even though I'm not working in that field anymore, there was something really inspirational and empowering about connecting people to nature and helping them do it in a responsible kind of way, but also helping them do it in an enlightening and empowering kind of way. And so that's what I hope that we do today, is that we can connect your listeners to ways that they can shift their perspective just a little bit. I know you're focusing on weight loss and healthy bodies and healthy minds, but sometimes it just takes getting started and doing something a little bit different than what we normally do, which might be going for a walk or going to a different location to exercise. So that's what I hope to bring, is some of my stories and my experiences of the benefits that I saw of being out in nature, teaching from nature, and exploring nature with my family and with my friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the big things you talk about is perspective. And I can tell you from personal experience that getting out in nature definitely can help you change your perspective. You and I have had conversations. And when we were speaking during one of our talks, you mentioned, how gratitude, when you're in a state of gratitude, you cannot be angry. There may not be like someone out there with a study or some kind of evidence saying it, but if you think about it, you just can't occupy both those spaces at once, being in gratitude and being angry. It's just not possible. And I feel that nature works the same way. I mean, you know this through your work connecting people to nature and your passion for nature, but I have never been out in nature walking where people weren't happy and smiling and friendly and striking up conversation with strangers and just, connecting around that shared beauty and magnificence.
Right. And, I think that I think maybe, if you get angry, frustrated, irritated, annoyed, perturbed, whatever normal negative emotions come at us from work or from home, I think, maybe those energies are with us in the car when we're trying to go someplace to nature. They might even be there when we're lacing up our boots or when we're getting our walking sticks out of the car or just packing our water bottle with us. But I think like 10 or 15 steps in, there's something magical that happens where some of that negativity almost just dissolves with each footprint. I have a favorite quote by John Burroughs, who was he was an early naturalist around 1871. His work was more about kind of literary naturalism, like what he experienced and what he saw. And he says, "I go to nature to be soothed and healed and to have my senses put back in order." And I think that as soon as even if you're not doing something crazy strenuous, and that's a myth, right? That you have to like hike to the top of a mountain and do it in an hour and sweat a lot. And I think that's a myth. And maybe you can jump in on this, but I think it's a myth that you have to get crazy strenuous in nature in order to reap the benefits. Just being able to have your senses put back in order, being able to let go of some of those negative energies that create negative chemicals in our mind, in our body. We know that there's certain chemicals that create inflammation. Inflammation affects our insulin intake. It affects everything, how our food is processed into energy in our body. So just being able to literally take a few steps, stop and breathe, get an awareness of what's around you that's different, and then reset, like John Burroughs talks about, I think is pretty critical, especially when we talk about having the mindset to lose weight or get our bodies in shape. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, I would definitely agree. I live near a national park myself, the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and a lot of the trail is just flat walking. It's not strenuous hiking, but I still get the benefits of being out in nature. And I think that getting out walking in nature is one of the easiest ways to start building your fitness, especially if you're struggling to get motivated or you're not a fitness junkie. I mean, I am personally not a fitness junkie. I take care of myself. I'm physically active and I work out, but my favorite thing to do is just walk or hike when I do want something a little more strenuous.
And there's nothing better than picking a place that's different. And then, especially when you know there's a reward. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I know Jacob has a couple of pictures. I'm not sure when he's going to roll them, but I sent you a picture of me at a waterfall. And when there is a place that you can walk to, and there is a reward, like a viewpoint, or a history monument, or a waterfall, or maybe literally a mile from my house, there's a place that there is a mountain goat that just hangs out. So I could literally walk down the road a mile, look up and see a mountain goat. And I think that when there's a reward involved, that feeds the really positive chemicals. It's like, ooh, this was worth doing, right? This was worth whatever effort that we made. And I know you went to the Grand Tetons and Mount Rushmore, and you mentioned a story to me about how it kind of forced you to go to places that you wouldn't normally go to, right?
Yep. Yes. I love traveling, and I love traveling where I can see different things in nature. And that trip helped take me outside of myself, see things that were bigger than myself. And there were a lot of unexpected surprises that were rewarding, to use your words.
Right. And I have choice and courage on my wall. For the listeners at home who can't see it, these are two really important critical foundations for me. I really believe that we have more choice in our life than we often think that we do. Mm-hmm. And one of the chapters, so I contributed to a book called Dreaming Big, Being Bold. And one of my closing paragraphs was this, that you find the courage today to navigate your life by choice, not by circumstance. You will not know where your journey will end when you opt for change, but trust your instinct when it says you cannot stay where you are. And I wrote that because that was in the middle of my job transition, but I think the words are appropriate for people that are trying to change their lifestyle, trying to change their physical well-being, trying to change their weight perhaps, is that nothing is going to change until you, first of all, have the awareness that you want something to change or it needs to change, and then you start creating options for that change to happen. And then the third step is where choice comes in. So choosing to go outside, choosing to take some extra steps, choosing to take the stairs instead of the elevator. Those are all things that are very compatible with our well-being and our own personal empowerment. When we make the choice to start creating change in our life, it's amazing how powerful I think we all can feel, rather than waiting for someone else to create the choice, the options for us. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the biggest lessons we learn in life, and that we get more in tune with as we get older and get into midlife. And that is, our lives are based on our choices, and even one choice can take you in a totally different direction. It can open up new doors, whether it's your health, it's life goals. So yes, understanding that we create our own choices in life and we're responsible for them is a huge part of that journey.
You talked about, you shared a story with me about how the other day, it was a nice warm spring day, and you just felt compelled to take your shoes off and run your bare feet through the ground. And I was wondering if you could kind of relay that, because I thought that was pretty powerful in terms of literally activating a simple choice to connect to the earth. And then, you never told me how it made you feel or what happened afterwards, but you're like, hey, I'm going to go walk barefoot in the grass today. So, will you tell your listeners kind of what you told me about that discovery, that aha, sort of self-grounding to nature, even if you don't go for a hike?
Yeah. So I was sharing with you, yes, that I like walking or going out, sitting in my yard and just sitting there with my feet planted in the grass and feeling connected to the ground. And there actually is, within earthing science, this concept of centering or grounding in nature. And it's based on the premise that the earth provides an energy field for us and that we are connected to it. So whether you do what I like to do, which is, going barefoot in the grass, barefoot in sand, being connected in natural water sources, all those are great ways of connecting to the earth. Benefits, are anxiety, depression, stress, relieving those things. It's good for immunity. It's good for your body in that you're connecting your inner and outer worlds to each other. And it goes back to what we've talked about before, where it's just creating this sense of awe with surrounding yourself with nature and those energy fields and benefits. And it's a newer science, but it has been spoken about by numerous health and wellness coaches. There's been articles on it in Psychology Today. Deepak Chopra talks about it. I mean, it's becoming more mainstream and more accepted that there are true health benefits from connecting with nature physically as well as visually.
Absolutely. And I know for me, being a park ranger, there's a big difference between being in the park and you're always serving people and always, something's always happening, maintenance, people asking questions. But wherever I worked, whether I was in Idaho Falls, Idaho on the Snake River, or down in California in Needles, in the wilderness area, or even in the Pacific Northwest, I would always find a place in the park that nobody else knew about, like that secret little spot that was just mine. And it would be a place that I would go, that I would take my lunch breaks, or sometimes I would go to that spot before my day started in order to kind of reset my mind and make sure that I was 100% in service to other people. Sometimes I would go after work to let go of whatever chaos and craziness happened, especially on a holiday weekend, so that I didn't take it home. And I think that when people can find a place in nature where they can feel grounded and connected, the next big powerful thing that can happen in their mind is, absorb. I always talk to my clients about notice what's happening, smell the air, smell the earth, smell the rock. I always tell people, don't put anything in your mouth unless you know what it is, because there's stuff in nature that'll kill you. But listen, use your senses, close your eyes, change how you're absorbing the energy of nature. Because then what can happen is you can draw on that spot later as a meditative place. Let's say something is chaotic at home or at work. For 30 seconds, you can just kind of drift back to that special place that you created that interpersonal connection to, and it can continue to serve you again and again and again, even if you actually don't go back to that physical place.
Yes, that is so true. And yes, I love your reminder to people to first respect nature and don't put things in your mouth that you don't know what they are. But yes, I love that. I have a spot on the trail right across from where I live that's kind of tucked away off a main road. You wouldn't even know it's there, but there's a creek with water flowing and there's some rocks. And I like to sneak down there when it's quiet and just sit and kind of feel my body, sitting on the rocks against the ground and just listening to water. As a Cancer, I'm a water sign, and I love being around water and nature of any kind. And I want to go back to something you and I have spoken about in our conversations, and that is nature as a spark or catalyst for creativity. And you shared 4 images with me. I don't know that we'll see them now, but we'll see them on the replay. And just the variety of photos you shared with me in your images speaks to creativity coming from nature. I mean, you shared water rushing, you with the waterfall, you had a bridge with some gorgeous plants and flowers, and then a gorgeous view of just the trees in the forest, So that's the other thing I love about nature, and it goes to the creativity if you want to speak more about it, but it's that variety of scenery.
Well, what I like to talk to my clients about is, a lot of people take their cameras with them, and that's perfectly fine. We wouldn't have those great images if we didn't have our cell phones or cameras with us. But I also encourage my clients to take a pen and a piece of paper or a journal. I'm almost getting chills when I think about it, but there are many times that I go to nature and I literally feel like there's a muse sitting on my shoulder, whispering in my ear. I am a poet. I'm not going to say kind of, I am a poet. And I have one thing here that kind of popped into my head when I was going for a hike today. And it was not today, it was about a week ago, but I call it what if. And it's what if this moment created a ripple in the pond? What if the aha in your head spread to your heart and beyond? What if you adapted ever so slight? And what if this moment could change your story overnight? What if the smallest change created the most significant effect? And what if you choose how you show up and you choose what happens next? That literally came into my head. It came into my head and out my pen when I took time to step off the trail and just sit next to this big old cedar tree that had died, and it was actually giving birth to new cedar trees. So one of the things is that, I think that when people are trying to lose weight, when they're trying to get physically and fit, there's kind of this mental struggle, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's like, well, I'm never going to get there, or I don't know how, or I've tried this before and it doesn't work. When we can allow the muses to come into our stories, into our lives, And you don't have to publish a book, but if you just write or draw or paint or take colored pencils with you and capture some of that energy that's inspirational to you, again, I think that is something that we can replicate in whatever goal that we have, whether it's writing a book, losing weight, getting a new job, shifting something in our life. I really think that creativity, that allowance for ourselves to just let something come from within us out and create a spark, as you say, is another really powerful thing that I would encourage your listeners and mine to do.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for sharing those beautiful words with us.
You're welcome.
Love it. Love it. And, it's interesting with creativity. One of the things I've told my clients, and I've had mixed feedback on it, but as part of my learning, when we're kind of sitting around and we're not moving our bodies and, maybe we are struggling with those feelings of carrying extra weight, or we are feeling like it's something we've tried before and it hasn't worked. A lot of times when we're sitting around, it's not just boredom or say stress or depression. It can be this bottled up energy and creativity that wants to get out. And I've had some people say, oh, I don't believe that that's bottled up creativity that needs to get out. But I don't know about you. I think with what you're sharing and what I've learned and what I share with my clients, I think that's totally true.
I do think it's totally true. In the chapter that I wrote in my book, which, by the way, I'm willing to, when we go to the live session afterwards, when we go to the live studio audience, anybody who shows up in that live studio audience, will make sure that they get a copy of the book. But I list 3 things as lessons that I learned from my big job shift. And one of those is that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. When you feel stuck, change your perspective. And what I believe to be true is that physical movement will trump mental paralysis any day of the week, regardless of what it is.
Oh, yeah, definitely. My last show was about movement and the mindset. And I guess, Pal, on that episode, we talked about how physical movement trumps, any mental issue you're having. It just spurs that positive feelings. I mean, it gets the, positive hormones going in the body. So yeah, I mean, there's a reason why expert after expert, health expert, wellness expert, doctors swear by it. Get up and move and get out in nature. I mean, you can't help but have all this gorgeous art available to you for free in most cases too. That's the other great thing. If you can't afford a gym, if you can't afford some fancy, expensive weight loss fitness program, all you got to do is get up out of bed, get off the couch and get in nature, and it's free.
And the last thing I would say is really when you're in nature, it's just you and nature. Yeah, you might pass other people on the trail or in the park, but they're in their own world, focusing on their own adventure. I think for your audience, it's important to make sure that people don't get stuck in the how do I look? Do I have the right outfit? Does everything fit the right way? Do I look good when I'm in nature? I know we only have a couple more minutes left, but I think that's my parting words for people is that when you're out there, it's just you and nature. It doesn't matter if you have a brand name fitness clothing apparel on. It just matters what you get from nature when you go and how you apply it to your life when you come back out of it. Yeah.
Beautifully said, beautifully ended. Why don't you tell our listeners how they can reach you?
Awesome. Thank you. DianeMcClay.com is the website. I'm on Instagram, Coach with Diane, or the Choice and Courage Company. And people can get a copy of the book on my website, or I think it's still on Amazon.com.
Excellent. And for those of you who are interested in a free weight loss discovery session, you can contact me at lifecanyon.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you are joining us in our live audience, once we're done, you can just click the button below and we will meet you in the breakout room.
Adrienne,
thanks for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. I think that your message is great, and I think this is something a lot of people need to hear, especially after this whole COVID craziness that's gone on. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And don't forget to join us at 1:30, 4:30 back on Diane's show for the second half of our interview.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset for a Weight Loss Breakthrough. Tune in next time for more groundbreaking insights to help you shift your mindset so you can achieve your goals and feel amazing in your body. Adrienne is here to support and inspire you on your weight loss journey. You don't need to do this alone. For more information about Adrienne or to work with her personally, visit lifecanyon.com.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.